This episode is brought to you by Trailer Park Yard Games, where over 28 games are delivered directly to your party. We park the trailer, you party.
And so, hey, that's fine. You can find a new house if you don't want to live here.
Right. That takes care of the whole. But Jaisy gets to do that.
Right.
Jaisy's wearing a short skirt and jeans.
Right. And so, I don't know.
At the same time? That is weird, and they should question that.
Darn. It's okay. Don't judge my clothing choices, okay?
Hey, you look nice.
Thank
It's
you.
springy.
Thank you so much.
But she has on jeans under her dress.
I wanted to wear white because I was like, okay, pastor's gonna be on.
Let's have a chat, talk this and that with PB and Jaisy.
Hello and welcome to the PB and Jaisy podcast. My name is Jaisy. I am the Jaisy to the podcast. Oh. To my left we have...
I am Sarah, Sarah Paget, so I put the P in the PB and Jaisy sandwich.
And I'm Bill Stedham. I'm the lucky bee sandwiched between today 3 beautiful women.
Yes, and one thing that I feel like we haven't talked about before I introduce our lovely guest is, not to talk about anything controversial, religion. How did you guys grow up? I grew up in a Pentecostal, so I never invited any of my friends to church. I'm sorry, I knew I should have, because I was like, they're gonna think I'm so weird. There's people to the left of me, speaking in tongues, people standing up and
that's holy roller, right?
And all of this stuff. How did you guys? What was y'all's?
Southern Baptist, so we were good as long as we didn't drink or dance.
So I grew up in California.
Well, in public. We just did it at home.
Yeah. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
So I grew up in California, and we started Baptist. Mom and Dad got divorced. We went to heathen and Catholic. Never went to church. So as a child, I learned about the Mormons, and I attended my entire high school life the Mormon church, because there was some fellowship there. And then I went in the Air Force and went back to heathen. And today I'm a Southern Baptist.
Good. With that, we have the lovely Whitney Barth here, who's going to all lead us to salvation for sure.
No, right?
We're going to need more than 30 minutes.
Is it associate pastor?
Technically executive pastor, whatever. Yeah.
Of Living Church. Executive pastor here at Living Church in Mansfield, Texas.
Yes.
So thank you so much for being here,
I'm
Whitney.
super pumped to be here. I love it. It's exciting. And this graphic, is beautiful and incredible. And now I'm already ruining the mics.
So while he fixes everything you just broke, I did want to ask, where is the Living Church at?
So we have a building off of Matlock Road here in Mansfield, but we are also, right now on Sunday mornings, we lease and rent out and do setup and tear down in Willie Pig Auditorium, which is the first auditorium of Mansfield ISD. And then we have our kids services in Wester Middle School, which used to be the very first Mansfield High School. So
my parents went to, so they actually had Willie Pig. I think that was their principal when they went to Mansfield.
Oh, really?
And then what is Wester was was Mansfield High. My
Mansfield
dad
High,
rode his Harley through that.
Your dad had a Harley?
Oh yeah, Bud had a couple Harleys, but it used to, and I think they took it out. But when I was there was a little ramp, and it was before the school was built. And my dad, he rode it.
So do we have pictures of Bud with long hair?
We do.
And leathers?
My dad was a hippie.
So we need Bud on the podcast.
Well, back then
pictures.
it was Billy Wayne, but his friends.
Then he went to church and he turned Bud.
And now he's Bud.
Then he became a deacon at a Southern Baptist church. So. Yeah, they whipped the hippie out of him.
It can happen. It can happen.
That's awesome. We're an 11-year-old church. We planted October 10th of 2010, so we're coming right up on our 11th year anniversary. Wow. We met in Aristide Event Center for the first 5 years, and then I've been in that Matlock building for the last almost 6 years now. But with meeting in the Pig on Sundays for the last, we call it the Pig.
Meeting in the Pig.
Pig. What do you call it?
Cool.
Willie and Pig. Both are kind of names that you're not go with the church. So,
but y'all slap some lipstick on it. It looks great on Sundays.
We put some lipstick on the Pig.
I heard his wife's name was Ima.
That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's true.
I think he had a kid that was Yura
Ima. This is I don't know if
well, that's one way to fully lean into the name.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true or
We're
not.
We're stuck to this. Let's just do
go
it.
With it.
It's a Mansfield tale.
If someone wants to either confirm or deny that, I could ask my mom, but
yes, if you know, please comment below of
I've
what
heard it
you know about
many
the Pig
people.
family.
Yeah, I don't know about the Pig family.
But Whitney, you haven't always been a pastor, so starting out, you were in the corporate world. Tell us about how you started out.
So you guys all told how you grew up. I grew up also a pastor's kid in a more Pentecostal tradition type church. And so growing up, it wasn't always an easy life. And so for me, I was like, I'm not trying to do that. Like, I just want to be in a job that's 9 to 5, easy and like simple. And so I grew up, I was in like I still had a lot of creative stuff I want to do. So I worked in photography, and then I got a job in cosmetics, working for Estee Lauder, Procter & Gamble. And when we moved to Dallas-Fort Worth area, I started working exclusively for Procter & Gamble. And so I did that for, 10, 12 years of my life, and did, events that we would be like selling perfumes or maybe skincare or Frederick Fekkai hair products, and going to different department stores, helping be kind of the liaison between the store and the company and all of those things. And so a very different life than the life that I now live, pastoring at a church. Yeah.
So go ahead.
So what happens? You just wake up one day and you answer a job resume, and you see a job ad that says Pastor wanted?
Yeah, right. No, so for years though, even though I grew up in the traditional church but didn't want to do that with my life, I still stayed serving in church, being a part, being connected. And so when my husband and I moved to this area, we moved here because he works for the city of Fort Worth. He manages the airports, Alliance, Meacham, and Spinks. And so we were like, well, we have to find a church, because that's what you do when you move somewhere. And so we had gone to a few churches in the area, but didn't really ever get like fully like, this is the one. And found out about Living Church through a friend that I grew up with in Oklahoma, where I'm from, and said, let's go help this church. And so I kept working my corporate job forever, and just on Sundays we're serving in a part. And then about 6 years ago, our church went through a transition, and our lead pastor changed. And that person was a friend of ours, and someone I'd been working like alongside, volunteering alongside. And so at first he was like, hey, come just help me like do I'm super organized, structure,
The list girl.
System list lady. And so I'm the binder lady, like the kid that has the binder with all the details. That's me. And so he was like, he is not. He's the opposite of that. And so he was like, can you come help me and do that? And so for a long time, though, for like a year and a half, I kept doing both. I was like, I will volunteer and do that for you, on the side. But I'm not trying to live this pastor life yet. And so, but the truth is, it was what I loved and what I was passionate about. And so once I started doing that, the whole cosmetic thing was like, what am I doing with my life? And so about a year into it, about 5.5 years ago, I said, okay, let's do it. And to me, it was kind of a conversation I had with God, like, really, dude, that's what you want me to do? Like, I already said I wasn't going to, and but I felt like it was the right thing. And I knew my love of what I did in cosmetics was being able to take somebody who felt maybe not their best and help them go into like the next, whatever it was, maybe a party or an event or a prom or a wedding or whatever, and feel confident and beautiful. And so I felt, oh yeah, that's a similar thing in what I'm doing here. That's why I probably always felt so passionate about it, is helping people where they are to where they really wish they could be or want to be in life. That's awesome. So I felt like, yeah, this is actually the right fit. And so I've been doing that for now the last 5.5 years, and pretty passionate about it too.
So you lead people to Christ and then show them how to do a smokey eye?
Yeah, exactly.
What is a smokey eye?
Oh, can we show Bill?
Yeah, right. Let's do it
Let's
right
not
now.
show Bill.
So, it's just it's a way to do your eye, but it's like smoky, and it's like super.
You take your look from day to evening.
Yes.
Yes.
Why did I ask?
But I love that, because so many people, and we've talked about that on the show before, so many people compartmentalize their jobs and their experiences, and they separate it like this was this and this is that. I feel like you gain through everything you do. There's experience and there's things you take to the next.
Absolutely.
Like everything I know in my life, I learned waiting tables.
No, for real.
And I could have said, well, that was back when I was a waitress. But I can take that into real estate. I can take that, everywhere.
Absolutely. My very first job was cleaning office buildings in high school. And then from there, photography was helping people make this beautiful art come to life in their home, and the customer service, the care, all those pieces. I managed a dentist office for a while, which helped me learn so much about what I do now, which is not just pastoring, but also for our team context, I lead the staff. So I'm the one that hires and fires and does discipline and handles stuff. Yeah, super fun. And so that taught me so much about what I was going to do there. And so I 100% agree. I think so often people can be like, well, then I had a midlife crisis and switched gears. But no, you didn't. You were all building. Everything builds upon each other. And you were going learning today what you needed for tomorrow. And so for sure, I don't begrudge any minutes of what I did before. In fact, I'm really, really grateful because I know that I couldn't be doing what I'm doing now if I hadn't done that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and so many people think that when you start over, you're starting from scratch.
Yeah.
But you're starting from experience.
Absolutely.
You have all of that that you can.
Which I think was that, like you said, like, how does that happen? And I'm like, weirdly, it was the exact perfect flow, which sounds crazy when you just say it. Like, I went from this to this, but it all fell into place. Oops, the right way. Sorry, guys. I'm not doing good.
Yeah, when you look at it,
could you be a little less Pentecostal, please?
I'm trying to use it as a tambourine. That's hilarious.
What all have you learned through your
man.
past jobs? I'm sure there's so many different things that you've added to the toolbox.
No, so many things. I think, like I said, the customer relation, but also the helping people realize, like, in our church context, we are probably different than a lot of places. We are very like, it's okay to not be okay. It's just not okay to stay there. And so I think the past experiences of like, helping a lady pick her skincare routine while she tells me her story of what is going on with her kids or what's going on in her life. I was learning how to pastor and love people then. I just didn't even realize it to that context. And so I can remember selling perfume one day, talking to a lady who was in a hard season and was like, I just need to like smell something beautiful so that I can actually feel like today is beautiful because I feel really crappy in this season of life. And so many of those conversations I think back to are the things that have helped me because, in pastoring, you deal with people's best moments, but most often their worst moments. And it really helped me be like, I'm not freaking out. I've been doing this for years. I know how to do this. I know what to say.
It sounds like real estate. We deal with people that are freaking out.
Yeah.
All day long.
They're like, help us find a house right now. Hurry up. And why did they already get the bid? And
Exactly.
I
10,000 over. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah. God, I remember the last house we bought. It was such a chaos. So it is. And so, so many things. And then with the context of being a kid growing up in that ministry world, I already had a lot of ideas about what it was, but again, as kids, you have a different filter. And so I think now some of what my parents walked through, I have in a better, clearer view now of like, oh, that wasn't easy for them. I thought that they were doing this stupid decision, as a kid. Why did they do that? And now I'm like, oh, I see why that was hard. I see why they walked through that. I see why this was a heavy time. And so, so much context for life that I'm like, I'm grateful that I got to grow up knowing it, though. I think it's helped me as I've stepped into it to at least see the perspective of like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Because it is a different world.
That is one thing, though, with Easton and McKinley, who are your kids. Yes. They're growing up as PKs, pastors' kids. And so what have you done differently as a parent?
Yeah.
Because they're super involved in the church. It's amazing to see McKinley lead.
How old are they, by the way?
They're 16 and 18, and they both have been apart since the very beginning. I think it's like a common misconception people have of like PKs. And so as you're saying that, what I feel like we've been able to do well is to set the tone that like, I think in so many churches they're like, no, they're not treated special. But in ours, we're like, no, they are. But not because they're the name and the title, but because my daughter at 6 years old was unhooking the stage pieces that we set up at Aristide Event Center, and she was helping load them into trailers and so they're special because they're here. They're working just as hard as the adults, and so we're not waiting till they're adults to let them do things and to be a part of what God's called them to. We're going to let them do it right now. Something we joke and say is like, there's not a junior Holy Spirit. Like, like there's a Holy Spirit. God is for everyone. And so when they're young and they feel passionate about something, my son, we have a podcast, shout out, Tug of More, if you ever need some leadership or ministry. Some of it is ministry, most of it is leadership and talking about the tension of going into more in life. And my son is the one who edits it and produces it and does the fancy things that Tom does for this. I don't know how it works, but I know he knows and he's excited and passionate about it. And so for us, it was this, or at least for me, my mom always would say, so my maiden name is Taylor. My mom would always say, like, when there was a rule, like you said, no dancing or no, or no jeans on Sunday nights or whatever the silly rule was that I would be so mad at. I would be like, it's just because we're pastors that you're making us do this. And my mom would always say, no, it's because we're tailors and this is what tailors do. And so for us, we've always been real intentional to be like, no, this is what Barths do, not what pastors do, but what Barths do. As our home, whether I was in cosmetics or whether I was here, these are the rules for our house. Because I don't want them to ever grow up bitter or jaded at the church.
Or resentful.
Because, my parents made me do this because of their job. Well, that sucks. So instead, it's just the rules of our house. And so, hey, that's fine. You can find a new house if you don't want to live here.
Right. That takes care of the whole. But Jaisy gets to do that.
Right.
Jaisy's wearing a short skirt and jeans.
Right. And so, I don't know.
At the same time. That is weird. And they should question that.
Darn. It's okay. Don't judge my clothing choices, okay?
Hey, you look nice.
Thank you.
It's springy.
So much.
But she has on jeans under her dress.
I wanted to wear white because I was like, okay, pastor is going to be on. I need to make sure that I'm like looking angelic.
Angelic and holy.
She can listen.
So I found the shortest skirt I could.
She can listen to the past podcasts.
That's true.
To get context.
And then Bill went with cantaloupe, which I like that color on you.
That's nice.
Does it work good?
Yeah, it makes me want melons.
And you went with fifth grade teacher. Right.
Actually, this is my, it reminds me of my grandma's divan. And I never knew what divan meant because she was fancier than we were. Like we just had couches or whatever. But it reminds me of like a 70s sofa or a curtain.
Couch cover for a 70s sofa.
Yeah,
but
I see that.
In reality, I'm running out of things to wear on the podcast. And I may have worn this before. I don't know. I have no idea.
Isn't that stressful,
I need to start writing it down.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, well, and then you don't want to wear the same thing together. Yeah.
I wear the same thing every time.
That's true. No one's noticed that Bill has never changed.
The melon shirt. Hey, it's good.
So where do you go for guidance? Because I know a lot of people come to you.
Yeah.
So where do you go to fill your cup?
Oh, man.
Jesus.
Yeah, Starbucks. The right answer is the Bible and Jesus. But no, it's a great question. You know, I'm people say lifetime learner or whatever, but it's true. Like there's so much I don't know. In fact, it's kind of a theme that we have. Like, we don't know what we're doing is what we say all the time. One, as a testament, like, we don't know, but God does. So we're just listening to him. But the other part is I'm not afraid to call anybody to ask him anything about anything. And so I have a lot of people in church world in my life. Even just this last week, we were talking through Christmas is coming, and it's a different Christmas this year than it was last year with COVID and all the things. Like, it's still a weird season, but it's different. And what do we do, and how many services do we have, and all these things. And so I have a couple pastor friends in the area that I was like, hey, can I ask you for some opinions of what you're doing and why you made the decision you made? A couple of friends over in Dallas that I was like, hey, what about you and your context? What do you? And so I have a lot of people that are kind of in the same realm as what I do that I reach out to a ton when I'm just a little bit overwhelmed or like, have you ever experienced this before? Or am I just a crazy person? And I think that helps. I think for all of us, sometimes we get stuck feeling like I'm the only one. And so if you have somebody else that you can be like, hey, have you been there? That helps. And then there's some people that are a little bit further beyond where I am in life, maybe a little more experienced in life years than me, that I will call and just be like, can you just tell me that I'm being crazy right now so that I don't freak out? Because we all have to have somebody in life that
can call you out.
Yeah, can tell me. Yeah, I have a friend that I literally will call and say, I need 5 minutes. And I can rail and yell and freak out for 5 minutes. And then at that moment, then she says, okay, it's been 5 minutes. Now let me give you the real truth of what you're actually walking through and smack me in the face a little bit and get me back in line. So we all need that, I think.
I love being that role for people.
Yeah, no, I love being it for them.
But I usually don't wait for permission.
Yeah.
I just say, this is what I
listen,
think.
you look like a cantaloupe today.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen, you need to take your jeans off from under your dress. That's weird.
Thank you so much for helping me navigate through that.
But actually, I would never help anyone with makeup or style.
Oh, I'm the worst. Well, clothes, I feel like I'm okay, but makeup
you always
is
look really
not.
cute. And your makeup looks good too.
I like putting the pieces and things like that together with clothes. But makeup stuff, I'm like,
But your makeup always looks really good.
Thank you.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to have like really pretty brown skin.
I was literally going to say,
I just have brown splotches of skin. It doesn't like all mix together well.
Sunspots. That's what I'm
maybe I need to get you to help me.
No. I'm in that season where I'm like, oh, I'm getting older. Oh, more eye cream. Oh, extra things to
calling
cover.
like your old work contacts.
Yes.
What do I do?
Hey. Yeah, exactly.
Send me samples.
So I have a couple of questions too. So you mentioned that your that scared me.
Do it.
Go ahead. Fine, I
Ask the question. I want to hear it.
So you had said that your church was different. How do you feel like your church is different, or what sets y'all apart?
No, super. For our context, at least half of our church didn't know God probably even 5 years ago. Awesome. And so in the context that we're in, I think a lot of times people think of church and you think of like Grandma Susie, and she sits in the same row in the same pew that she's been there, and like sister so-and-so. And like, it's just the same tradition over and over again. For us, we just shake it up a lot because we believe that we're called to help people find more. That's our whole thing, is that no matter how long you've loved God, no matter how long you've been in a relationship with him, there's always more that he has for you. And so whether you just got saved 5 minutes ago or whether you've been serving him for 50 years, he has more he wants for you. And so we're growing together. We're super not like pastor superhero people. Like, that's not our thing. We're not like heroes in capes. We're humans who need a savior. Jesus came for everyone, not just the little people in church, but for the pastors too. And so we recognize that we're all fallen and we're all a mess and we all need him. And so we have a very transparent culture. Right now we're in a marriage series. Tomorrow, this is Saturday? I don't even know what day it is. Yeah, it's tomorrow.
Well, in podcast world, it's Wednesday.
Oh, sorry. That's okay. Sorry, podcast world. But today is Saturday, tomorrow is Sunday. We're actually talking about sex in marriage, and we're sharing some of our own stories about our marriage over the last 6 weeks. We're doing a panel with my husband and I and our lead pastor and his wife, and talking through some of the real transparent things of hurt and baggage and pain. And so we just have a very, I think, because I get often people, first-time visitors who are like, I've never heard pastors be that transparent before. And I'm like, well, why not? Because we all need help. We're growing together. Right. And so it's just a very unique, I think, culture in that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be a person, but that's why we need Jesus. And so that's kind of I don't know. I think that's what sets us apart.
That was one thing that definitely, I think, brought us to coming to y'all's church was that, or to the
sex. It was definitely this.
Yes, she taught me a new position on Sunday, and I was
I did not see that.
Didn't see this.
I did not.
Sorry. We Tom and I had moved to Mansfield.
Yeah.
We lived in Fort Worth for a year when we first got married, and then we moved to Mansfield, and we were really just trying to find a church. This was before we had kids, and just when we first bought our house. And we grew up in church, and luckily I didn't have any sort of traumatic stories about church where it was any other than not wanting to bring people to my church because I thought they would think we were weird. But I would say that I grew up, that was why no one wanted to hang out with me to begin with. That's what it all boiled down to.
I feel like it's a lot of laundry.
Why do they
You don't need two bottoms.
So fun.
But I grew up always having a relationship with Christ and kind of knowing who he was. So it was important to us to find a church. And my brother actually came to Living Church and was like, hey, I know you guys are looking for a church. I really feel like this is a church that you would like. And our first Sunday at church, I remember seeing all different kinds of people.
Yeah.
It wasn't just white people on stage.
Right.
There was all different types of people. And also because I grew up in an all Indian church, so everybody was Indian, everybody, and so that was important to us. So we were like, okay, we want to have kids. We want people to be around in church what they're going to see in heaven. It's not like there's going to be an Indian heaven and a white person heaven and a black person heaven. I've talked to God. He told me, we don't segregate up here. So that was really important. And also seeing women in leadership was huge. Yeah. Seeing an executive pastor that was a female that was able to talk about things and stuff like that was amazing.
Yeah.
So I really would say that about the church, a true testament to the church is that you see everyone and there's no one that's too young or too much of a woman or whatever.
You're right. No, I think the list goes on and on of the uniqueness, I believe, of what has been super different experience than maybe the traditional church. But for me, being a female in leadership is a super weird thing. And honestly, part of the story that I didn't share of I think not only was I okay, God, I've seen my parents walk through this and it wasn't easy. I don't want to do it. Was the other part of but I'm a girl. Why would I get to do it? Why? I'm not marrying a dude who's a pastor. I'm married a dude who loves airplanes and managing airports. And so how would that even work? And so there's a lot that's unique and different about it. But I say all the time, like, I'm so grateful we get to do this, that like, I know God could have picked anybody else, but he did pick us. And so I'm like, I'm really grateful. But yeah, I'm a person, so I screw it up a lot.
To the female part, like growing up the way I did, no one ever said it was wrong necessarily.
Yeah.
And there's no verse in the Bible that I'm aware of that says if you have a vagina, you cannot preach
Unless
I've missed it. I don't know what the
There are a couple verses
is.
that have some confusing context that people have conversation about. And so we actually, in June of last year, did a whole podcast and a sermon conversation about it because it's confusing. People like to get a little frustrated about it.
I feel like they like to take things, though, and make it what they need it to say sometimes.
Well, people try to complain about anything.
Right,
and
correct.
There's nowhere where it says that you have to be a man. And even in the Southern Baptist churches, there are...
But to this day, I don't know that they would put a female on stage. I don't know. I haven't seen that.
They certainly would in our church.
Come to Living Church and you'll see one on stage.
But
in the Methodist church, Methodist church, I've seen that. But
but in the Baptist church, we've seen it too. So we've seen things change. 59 years ago, we would never see in any denomination a lady on a stage.
Yeah.
Now, I do have a problem sometimes, and this is me and my judgmentalness, of seeing female sports reporters. It bothers me for some reason.
Do you feel like they don't know what they're talking about?
I was going to say, I'm okay
like
with it if they actually know what they're talking about.
If they actually know. But I think part of me is like, does she really know that? Like, maybe I'm jealous. Maybe I'm jealous that she knows more about sports.
I just want someone in the comments like telling me, okay, this is Russell Wilson. He is dating or married to Sierra. Then I'm like, oh, okay, that guy. Know him.
Got it.
That's what I need.
I don't know. I struggle with that, but I'm so glad because I feel like the woman perspective is totally different, and the things that you deal with and the struggles and all that. And it's hard to relate to a congregation when half of you,
and really, truly, it's about 64. Again, I'm the binder lady. It's about 64% of church is female, and how can you know the full context? We feel like also like our lead pastor is a dude, like truck,
like a
bro, like. Sometimes he breaks things on stage with like sledgehammers.
Is that what you were doing earlier?
Yeah, I'm just hitting things. Apparently, what's happening?
Spending too much time with Trustin.
I know. I'm like, God. And so, Trustin is super. He's a dude's dude, a man's man. And a very intense guy, but I think that my femininity allows him to be fully masculine, that he can be all man and I can be all female. In the beginning, like I would only wear blazers and I would only be like, no flowers, you can't do it, you've got to show them. And I was
you were like
that's
Hillary
absurd.
Clinton.
Yeah. Right, like that's absurd, be yourself. And so, zebra and cheetah print, that's me. And so but it allows me to be me and allows him to be him because clearly it's safe for women in our church if he's allowed if I feel like he's a safe person to be around. He can still be a guy without them being like, whoa, this dude is scary. He's not scary. He's a nice dude. So, and really the reason we're able to do that is because of his willingness to be humble enough to say, hey, having a female alongside me actually makes this better. Not that he's a man that's like, I must do it. Right. I'm in charge. And so
I love that.
No, it's
really
great.
Do.
We have a great dynamic. I'm really grateful for it, for sure. Great. Yeah.
With that, we have a segment that we love to call
Tales from the Lockbox.
So this is where we basically say crazy, funny stories that have happened, not real estate related, just kind of whatever.
Yeah.
So because of the topic that we're on, this just came to my head. So we were new in the youth group. So I was like 8th grade going into 9th grade. And my friend Beth was asked to read this passage to get the evening started, whatever. It was like a Wednesday night. And she stands up and she's super smart and she has a very good reading voice. And so she starts to read. And she completely missed a word. Actually, she read the word, but read the word wrong. Instead of saying Gentiles, Beth says genitals.
Of course she did.
And just to imagine, newly in the youth group,
in that age, everyone's like, oh,
yeah. And it was the best story ever. Oh, I just remember her just kind of folding into herself, and I don't know if she ever read again. So, but that was my story. I remember that, and I love it.
So
do you have any funny? I'm sure you've met.
I do read differently now. When I see that word, I have to be like.
Yeah, think of Beth every time.
That's hilarious. Man, I have a lot of stories. I don't know. I'm like, which is the best? I've been trying to think about it. But I mean, my first finance meeting, I gave the graphic media guy the total wrong number. And like from the spreadsheet, there it was. And so then in the middle of all of the meeting, some dude raises his hand in the meeting and says, your numbers don't add up to what they should be. And I am mortified on the front row like an idiot.
Well, for your personality type, that was probably crazy,
it's
right?
like the
what?
worst.
That's what
My binder says.
But that's not like crazy. That's just dumb.
Embarrassing.
It's so embarrassing. Yes. Man, I mean, everything we've had. I don't know. Is it supposed to be like risky and crazy, or
Talking about sex on church.
Could be whatever.
Is it supposed to be?
This is safer.
Yeah, right. I don't know, man. We had to fire a guy once because he said that he could take a dump on our desk, and we couldn't fire him, and that was weird. And like, no, dude.
Did he?
Actually, no. But why would you say that? I don't know.
my
I've had the craziest like people just say stupid things.
That is crazy.
I'm trying to think of so many things. I've ripped
someone threatening to take a dump on your desk.
That's so absurd. He was like saying, you can't do this without me. And then we were like, actually, I think we will. Actually, I think we will. I've ripped my pants on stage before, like, and then had to walk off sideways so that people didn't know. That was horrible. I one time sat on the toilet seat on a Sunday morning, like rushing. When we were at the Matlock building, we were in 4 services back to back to back because we were out of space. And I sat down quickly and the whole toilet seat cracked and broke in half. And that was also in a season when I had gained weight. So I was like sad and humiliated. And then I had to like carry out the toilet seat in front of everyone, like, sorry, hold
Guys,
on.
I broke this. I'm
so
sorry.
like, I don't know. I have a lot of them.
One would have been fine, but
Here at Living Church, we have a seat for everyone.
Yeah, a seat for everyone.
Except for the one I broke. I'm sorry.
well, so you were at your lowest of lows. So now we're gonna level up.
Okay,
Yes.
let's do it.
Level up with Mr. Bill.
Oh, wow. This has been awesome. So not all of us are binder ladies or binder
No.
people. So we're not all organized, right? And I work with a lot of people that flat can't get things done. So here's my challenge. Have a goal for what you want to accomplish within the next hour. Eliminate all your distractions. Shut off your phone. Shut off Facebook. Shut off TV. Shut off everything. Focus on 1 hour at a time, and you'll be surprised at what you can get accomplished.
It's good.
That's great.
Oh, that's great.
That's
I'm writing
really
that
good
down.
advice.
No, it's true.
Well, thank you all so much. I know
Yes.
that was fast and furious, and it sounds like we could do another episode with
Oh,
you
I would
just
love
on the
to.
things
It's
that
so
have happened.
exciting.
But thank you all so much. Be sure to like us on all the platforms that
Yes.
you're listening to us on. Check out Tug of More.
Yeah,
for
I was going to say,
sure.
can I tell you? Tug of More
Yes,
is
tell
on
us.
Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts, and then Living Church at 9:30 and 11:15 at Willie Pig Auditorium.
Let's
Come
talk
hang
about
out.
sex.
And we're talking about sex. So
Yeah.
come talk about sex.
We
with
will
us.
link all of that information down below. So
Yeah.
please listen to the next podcast. Visit
Yeah.
Living Church. Thank you so much, Whitney, for
Oh,
being
thanks
here
for
with
having
us.
me, y'all. That was so
Thank you.
fun.
Thank you.
Yeah,
PD and JC, we out.
We out.
It's been great.
Yes.
Just had a chat, talk this and that with PB and JC.